We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
The dialogue.
The dialogue.
The dialogue.
The dialogue.
The dialogue.
The Dialogue, the community voice of Southern California's young professional network. Relevant discussions about the thoughts, concerns, opportunities, and challenges faced by today's generational leaders. Real talk, real people. This is The Dialogue. The Dialogue with Starlett Quarles on 1460 KTYM and streaming live at www.ktym.com.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to The Dialogue, Real Talk, Real People. I'm your host, Starlett Quarles, and we're on live at latalklive.com and also streaming live in Omaha, Nebraska at 1690 AM. The one, the voice of the voiceless. As always, The Dialogue is the voice of our generation, so thank you so much for joining us here every Wednesday from 5 to 6, where we like to discuss the topics that are relevant to today's generational leaders. This month, we are talking about politics, a variety of different subjects around politics and the upcoming November election. And joining me today, as well as last week, is my special co-host, Mr. Dermot Givens, Esquire. How you doing, sir?
Good, Starlett. Having a good time, and I want to give a quick shout out to my sister-in-law in Houston who's listening in, Jerry Melanson, who's celebrating her second anniversary.
Well, happy anniversary, Jerry. Well, thank you so much for supporting us on these past two shows. You are an attorney. What type of law do you practice?
Mostly criminal law.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Lucrative business.
Crime is good.
Crime is good.
Not really, but it's.
But it's keeping your bills paid, right?
It pays the bills.
Okay, absolutely. So, what's your involvement in LA politics or your interest in local LA politics?
I love black people and love the black community.
I know that's right.
And started out as a youngster with my family being involved in politics back in Detroit, where Tony is from, our other guest. And when I came out here, just jumped into it and have been trying to figure out LA black politics ever since.
And you've been involved in a lot of campaigns.
Yes.
Haven't you? Share with us some of the campaigns that you've been involved
with. As I try and tell people, I'm probably one of the few, if not only, African Americans who's not in anybody's camp. So I work with everybody and have worked with everybody.
Okay.
From Maxine Waters to Rod Wright, Diane Watson, Mark Ridley Thomas, Herb Wesson, Steve Bradford, you name
just
them.
about everybody. Everybody know you?
Everybody knows me.
So
but I'm in nobody's camp, and I'm one of the few
let's
people
reiterate,
out
he's
there.
in nobody's camp, okay?
When they need me, they call me.
All right, okay. So how can people find you?
They can call my office at area code 310-854-8823.
And what did you think about last week's discussion on black Republicans?
It was interesting. And it's always interesting to me when you talk about black Republicans, because I was trying to bring out where are they and how can, if black folks want to be Republicans, who can they call? How can they get involved? And we never got that answer.
Okay. All right. Well, we have a guest tonight who is very involved in the Republican Party, Ms. Shirley Hussar, who will be here shortly. So make sure you definitely ask her that. And if you did miss last week's show, we did talk about black Republicans. It was a discussion with black Republicans. Our special guest included two local entrepreneurs, Sheila Taylor. Sheila Taylor, who, as you remember, was leaning to the right, and registered Republican Kenneth Fleming, who may be joining us later on today here on the show. So if you missed last week's show, make sure you check us out at thedialoguela.com. That is thedialoguela.com. Or like us on Facebook, facebook.com/thedialoguela. Tonight's show is around blacks who are not supporting Obama. They are some that exist, and we have convinced them to come into the studio today. It's a known fact that the majority of black people, black Americans in 2008 actually did vote for Obama. And since then, they have changed their minds or are being extremely critical of his performance over the past 4 years. Many of us are recently talking about the controversy with Stacey Dash and her recent endorsement of Mitt Romney and the backlash that she's received as a black woman supporting Mitt Romney, as well as Tavis Smiley and Cornel West and their poverty tour, criticizing Obama's lack of support for our country's poor and working class. But as my guest will tell you today, behind closed doors, there are many black Americans who do have some issues with Obama not supporting black America in the way that they felt that he should as our first black U.S. president. And they aren't saying anything too publicly for fear of being called a hater or a sellout. So what do you think? So let's talk to some of our
haters and sellouts,
which is one of them right there. We have brought in the fearless.
Okay. Time out. No, that is. I will represent Tony is not a hater or a sellout.
Tony go defend himself. Trust me, Tony. All right.
Ain't no question.
And our guest today to talk about why they are not supporting Obama on Tuesday, November 6th, which I know you're going to be getting out and voting, is Shirley Hussar, who is a registered Republican, and my guest here in the studio, Mr. Tony Waitford, who is a registered. You're independent, correct?
Independent, right?
All right, registered independent. All here today to discuss why they are, in fact, not supporting President Obama. So we want to hear from you. Give us a call, 323-247-7443. That's 323-247-7443. So please make sure that you give us a call and let us know what you think about our conversation with blacks who are not supporting President Obama. And before we go to commercial break, I'd like to give some shout outs of my own. LA police officer Carol Mitchell. Hi, Carol. Remember I saw your pants, girl? I told her I would give her a shout out. Thanks for being a long-time listener. That's LAPD officer Carol Mitchell. And in the studio, we have Miss Sheila Taylor from last week. You can't see her. She told me she didn't want to be on camera, but y'all remember Sheila from last week. And we have Mr. Mac Alexander. How you doing, Mac? All here in the studio today to support our conversation on blacks who are not supporting President Obama. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to get into our conversation with Mr. Tony Waitford, who is so anxiously waiting to tell us why he's not supporting President Barack Obama. We'll be right back.
We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Hey LA, are you getting out to vote on Tuesday, November 6th? I know I am. This is Lady J of Lady J's Wild World of Sports, and I'm joining my family right here, LA Talk Live, and encouraging the citizens of Los Angeles to get out and vote on Election Day. As you know, this is one of the most important elections in our American history, and we need everyone in LA to register and have a voice on November 6th. Currently, the state of California, the state we live in, has 6.5 million people eligible, but not registered to vote. And about half of those voters live in LA County. So I'm joining the family here at LA Talk Live and encouraging you to register and vote on Tuesday, November 6th. And if you haven't yet registered, don't worry. You have until midnight on October 22nd. And you can now even register online. So there is no excuse. That's right. If you have a signature filed online with DMV or a state ID number, you can now register to vote at registertovote.ca.gov. And don't forget to join us here on Tuesday, November 6th for LA Get Out and Vote, our live Election Day coverage from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., where we're going to keep you tuned in exclusively to LA election news and poll coverage. All day right here on my station, LA Talk Live, where we are more than just talk. Okay?
Welcome back to the Dialogue on LATalkLive.com. I'm your host, Starlett Quarles, and and we're streaming live at latalklive.com. And today our discussion is on blacks who are not supporting Obama. And quick shout out to a new in-studio guest, Mr. Man Moore. Hi, Man. Man's joining us here in the studio today, good friend of mine. So we're going to get into our conversation with our guest, Mr. Tony Wayford. And Shirley Hussar is going to be joining us shortly here. So we have Mr. Tony Wayford, who is here from Los Angeles, California. How you doing, sir?
I'm excellent.
Good. I'm glad to see you. Excellent and excited. Tell us a little bit about what you do here in LA.
I do HIV/AIDS education around the country, educating people about HIV/AIDS and importance of getting tested, knowing your status and things like that.
Okay, very good. How long have you been doing that?
15 years, actually.
Okay, and how did you get so passionate and involved in LA politics?
Because when I moved here, I just turned 18, and I met with a couple of folks. As a matter of fact, I met Maxine then. She was in the assembly at the time, and I just got involved in just looking at folk, what they were doing. I joined this church that was real progressive, Ward AME, and at the time Reverend Frank Reed was over there, and they were really political. And I learned a lot, and it was really interesting to me. And what was really interesting to me, I think, more so than anything about the politics, is that how people would say one thing and really meant something else, and other people just sit and listen and pretend like they was like on it. And I thought that was insane.
Okay.
And so I just got interested in it, and I just started sharing my thoughts and views and opinions.
So you didn't grow up in a politically conscious household?
No.
Okay.
No, not at all.
All right. So now tell us, what is your current political affiliation and why?
I am an independent.
Okay. When did you become a registered independent?
Long time ago.
What's a long time ago?
Maybe, I don't know, maybe 10 years or something like that.
Now, were you originally a Democrat?
Yeah.
Okay, so share with us why you switched.
Because I think a broke watch is right at least twice a day. And too often, Democrat, I mean, I agree with some of the stuff they're saying, and sometimes they get wild. And again, with the Republicans, sometimes they on point. Like I said, a broke watch is right at least twice a day.
Okay.
And so I figured out whichever makes sense. So I don't go party line. I just go with what makes sense. Just like I believe in God. I don't belong to no particular church, because I think He show up at all of them.
Okay.
And every Sunday somebody talking wild and crazy.
So what made you start questioning the Democratic Party when you were in it? What did anything specifically happen that made you start looking at it?
No, I just think you should listen to everybody. Okay. I don't think one person has all the answers. And again, I think we gravitated to it because most of the people are there that we know and is comfortable. And again, I don't think they're as wild as the other side, as the Republican side, by any stretch of the imagination.
Okay.
But it just sometimes, in some instances, it seems to me that the Democrats want to give everybody something, even people that ain't asked for nothing. And Republicans don't want to give nobody nothing, even the people that need something. Okay. So it was just kind of weird to me. So I said, let me get in the middle and just pick and choose when somebody says something that makes sense or resonates with me. Then I go with that.
Okay. So let's go back to 2008. President Obama was elected as the first black president of the United States. How did that make you feel?
It made me feel sad, actually.
You didn't have no sense of pride as a black person?
Well, I had pride for that Negro ran. I knew I was black before he ran. I'm a little older than him, so it's clearly.
I'm just saying, in terms of just our
because I think that was
historic moment in Black American history.
I didn't know how to celebrate white people coming to consciousness, because in fact we have been running governments, nations, and countries since the beginning of time. If you understand your history, I didn't just start when we touched these shores. And I try to be a student of history.
Move a little bit closer to the mic.
I try to be a student of history and understand our contribution to the forward flow of human civilization. Okay. And we've been running governments and countries since the beginning of time. So basically, we were celebrating white people coming to consciousness that we had a contribution. And I didn't know how to do that. It's not that. I just seriously didn't know how to do that. And it's interesting you say that, because I was in Vegas last week and I was listening to KJLH, and they had a debate between Dr. Maulana Karanga and this other brother, Dr. Boyd, I can't remember his name, Hunter or something like that. Anyway, and it was asking him, what is the greatest thing behind Obama being elected president? And he said, the moderator asked, he said, just being there. For our children get to see a whole family, and they look at Michelle Obama, and you get to see a strong black woman. And I was wondering, what does Mama look like? I ain't got to see Michelle. She's a strong black woman. I can look at my mama, my grandmama.
Dermot, this your friend.
Disclaimer. You doing a disclaimer on it, bro.
Tell us about 2008 and for you. Weren't you proud?
Oh, I was extremely proud.
Okay.
I was there. I was.
You at the actual inauguration?
Yeah.
Okay.
And took my son.
Okay.
And,
You was out there in the cold?
Yeah, out there in the cold.
That was nice and warm in my bed watching.
He had met Obama during the campaign, and it was just how I look at it. As black folks, we had to celebrate.
Okay.
Black folks in America, because this was something that has never been done before, and in our lifetime we won't know the ramifications. It'll be my sons and grandsons and grandchildren's will be able to hopefully figure out how this impacted black folks. We have no idea. But in his second, so we had to celebrate for ourselves.
Okay.
In his second re-election, that will come November 6th, we will now have to, we will then have to reassess white folks.
Okay.
Because
you gotta wait that long?
Why does your face keep making this expression?
No, I assess them every day.
Okay.
But we're gonna have to do a reassessment. If when these white folks re-elect this brother the second time, we got to do a whole reassessment of white folks, because everything that we have thought is not going to come into question. Because never before 2008 would I have believed that these white folks would have elected a black man president of the United States.
Why? When they picked him?
Racism.
I mean, but why? But they picked him.
They picked him.
In August of
But he's still a black man.
August of 2007. Well, black is three things: color, consciousness, commitment.
I understand.
Now, when in 2007, in August, when he was a freshman senator, I remember this like it was yesterday. I read a small blurb in the paper where Warren Buffett's daughter had hosted a fundraiser for him in Nebraska, and I thought that was interesting. I said, why in the world would this rich white man, Warren Buffett's daughter, host a fundraiser for Barack? That didn't make sense to me. And I made a couple calls. So it's like they picked him. I mean, they picked him. So it ain't like all of a sudden this black guy because before they picked him, most Negroes wouldn't know who he was if you put a pistol to their head.
I agree.
If we just gonna be honest about it.
I agree.
And again, we can't confuse picking him or him being president with being the best, because if we think about it, Jackie Robinson was the first, but he damn sure wasn't the best. He was best for what they wanted.
All right, so Tony, in 2008, did you vote for him?
Yeah, I voted for him because he's black. He ain't no deeper than that. And most Negroes voted for him because he's black. Come on now, we ain't go through no science project, do no math,
except the black Republicans.
Genealogy.
Okay,
so a couple of them Negroes stuck. You can call the power flip.
Right.
All right. Well, let me ask you. So, what was your expectation? What was your hope? What was your expectation
I didn't
when you
really
voted
have,
in 2008?
Unlike a lot of people, because I've been around politics and I've learned a lot through being around Vermont and all the folk that he named, I knew I wasn't going to get no Obama prize. I knew wasn't nothing coming in the mail.
Okay.
Unlike a whole lot of our people who are disenchanted and feelings are hurt right now because they don't understand the political process. They honestly thought something was going to happen. They thought it was going to be a barbecue on the White House lawn. He was going to put a basketball hoop on the garage. And y'all was going to be over there with
we
shells.
We was going to have chillins.
Y'all thought y'all was going to be doing electric slide in the driveway. I know the masses, you know.
Okay, so how soon into his administration did you start becoming disenfranchised?
Let me tell you something.
Or disenchanted, I mean.
Let me tell you something. I was in Denver. This is God's honest truth. When they did the nomination. And I was fortunate to be in some rooms with some folk. And I heard somebody who I knew and respect say, y'all better get all this fun out now. Because when this Negro land tomorrow, he ain't hanging around none of y'all. And I looked, because I shared this with Demont. The next day when he was coming in Denver, I was leaving. Because it hurt my heart, because think about this. All the folk that he needed to get in office, he separated himself from it. You know, you don't win. He only got 42% of white people. 47% of white people didn't vote for him. He got 99.9% of us. Now you got the petty bourgeoisie Negro that voted anyway, but he don't win unless he get Pook in them, and Pook in them didn't go Pook and them only went because of Minister Farrakhan. Pook and them only went because of Maxine. Pook and them only went because of more our revolutionary, because of Jeremiah Wright and my social conscience ministry. That's why Pook and them went. Now, they went because people they knew and trusted and could touch every day said, we need to do this. So they went out and they supported the brother. And it was just sad to me that Brother Warren and suffered historical amnesia. Now, I know he couldn't talk like me. You know what I mean? I know he got the buck and bend over and give people an opening every Friday.
Really?
I know he got the buck. They wouldn't have picked him if he wasn't going to buck. But what he didn't do is he should have picked a black person on the inside and said, look, I can't hang out with them Negro. I don't know too much about them. You know what I mean? So here, I'm going to sign you, DeMont. You in charge of Negroes. Go out there, see what they want, hold a couple barbecues, go to a couple churches, join some of them, as a matter of fact. Fall out, talk to them, all that stuff. And then you keep the masses, because, again, y'all ain't come, think about it. Nick, I ain't seen too many Negroes around here my color. You might see more black people around Tiger Woods than Barack Obama.
Well, tell me, there has to be something that you like about Obama. What do you like?
Black.
There's more than just the fact that he's black.
To be honest with you, no. And I'm heartbroken. And I mean, it sounds funny and flip. And I'm sad because, again, I think that when you get 90+% of a group of people and not speak to the needs of the people, and Congressman Cleaver, who's the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, said it best. If a white man was the president right now, with black unemployment in this country, what it is right now, we would be throwing bricks at the White House. If the majority of the people who lost their homes during the housing debacle through basically predatory lending, if we're going to be honest, people want to claim that they signed on a paper that they knew they couldn't afford. But that's why you have laws like predatory lending and things in place to avoid the vulnerable taking advantage of the vulnerable. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And not to do anything to address the needs of the suffering masses of people, I think is criminal. Mm-hmm. And also, think about it. There's no president in the history of the world that has bombed as many African nations as Barack. There's no president since Barack had done more drone strikes than any president since they've created drones.
Well, let me ask this question. Now, Tony, if I recall, you've been to the Obama White House.
Sure. I told him, y'all know who you invited.
You told him that to his face?
I told them Negroes when they invited me. They said, Tony, we'll come with more. I said, okay, cool. I said, but do you know, because I didn't know the guy that invited me. Mm-hmm. I said, he said, he said,
who invited you?
I don't want to say the guy's name.
Okay.
I said, brother, do you know, they told you how I talk? He said, yeah. I said, okay, because I'm not going to change now. I ain't going to get excited seeing pillars and get excited about coughing and stealing White House pencils and pens and paper. I'm going to talk like I talk. And I did just that.
What'd you say to him?
They were talking about HIV, and I thought it was criminal, just like, the administration released the HIV/AIDS strategy, and they use all the data of black people to express the seriousness of the pandemic, but they didn't say black people, nor did they put any money behind it. Mm. And I think that's criminal.
So tell me, with Obama being the first black president of the United States, do you think it's his responsibility to be the president of Black America?
Yes. And the reason
isn't he supposed to be the president of all of America?
Well, let me ask you this.
Okay.
When the gay people went up there for gay stuff, they didn't go as Americans. They went as gay people. And they want to know what you going to do for gay people. He did not tell them I'm not the president of gay people. He addressed their needs. Mm-hmm. When now the women's organization went up there, he did not tell them, get your ass out of here. I'm only in charge. I'm over America, not women. He addressed the needs of women. When the Latinos went up to the White House and addressed the needs of Latinos, did he tell the white Latinos, quit whining, take off your house slippers and start marching? He addressed their needs. Why is it if I go with a legitimate claim that all of a sudden, when he talks to us as black people, he lectures y'all? When he was at the Congressional Black Caucus, what did he tell them black people? Take off your house slippers, quit complaining. How does a Negro who just got here yesterday sit in the audience and sit on the podium and look at somebody like Charlie Rangel, look at somebody like John Lewis, look at somebody like Maxine Waters, people who have dedicated life and limb so he can sit there in the big chair and then lecture them? When he went to the Urban League, he told them, I'm going to get y'all this money, but y'all better put down the video games and quit playing. He didn't tell nobody else that. How does he talk to us like we're children? He totally did. And last thing, he'd done better at the debate if he thought that somebody should have said, Barack, pretend you're talking to the NAACP.
Now,
but isn't it?
I get
and
passionate
this
about
is my issue
Clearly.
with the state of politics right now. Has anybody went to him with a black agenda?
I was gonna say, do we even have a black agenda?
You Negroes, Secret Service will stop
You
y'all at the
Negroes,
front
you want
gate.
to?
No, I haven't been
Stop
invited
y'all
to the
at
White
the
House.
front
Let's be
gate.
clear. I haven't
Like,
been
no,
there.
really.
You
No,
were-
honestly, do we have a black agenda? And if so, what is it?
What? I surely think we got. I think again. Let me just say this.
I'm just
See,
asking
what
the
we
question.
try to do. Yeah, we got a black agenda. Poverty, education, housing, unemployment. Yeah, that ain't a black agenda. We suffering.
Are you suffering from all that?
All of that. We number
You
one.
suffering from poverty?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ain't
Yeah.
suffering from no poverty.
Hey, let me tell you. If anybody look like me is suffering, I'm suffering too. I ain't gonna be like the average nigga. Yeah, of course I got a few dollars and I got a house and all that. If somebody look like me is suffering, then I'm suffering too.
Okay.
As long as one of us can be disrespected, mistreated, we all vulnerable to disrespect and mistreatment. And I think that's important. I'm not one of them Negroes get $2 and forget and join Jack and Jill in the links and 100 Negroes and forget where I came from. I don't do that. But that's no offense to those socially conscious Jack and Jillers, but y'all should change it to Willie and Shakreef.
Now, I'm going to give, I agree in substance that Obama has not addressed the needs of the black community.
Okay.
However, I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt to get him the second term and hoping like hell he going to kick some ass in the second term and bring the bacon home for black folks. But we as black folks have a responsibility to put our agenda of what we want, and that's what I'm still failing to see.
Absolutely.
Well, you know the African proverb says, if you know the beginning well, the end won't surprise you. You need 4 more years to understand what you know.
I'll take the 4 more years.
and let me tell you, we keep charging the victim with the crime. We said black gentleman, Well, the man didn't even meet with the Congressional Black Caucus for the first year. Can we put on our thinking cap? I mean, can we? Karanga said it best. Malana said it best when I was listening to radio. Can you love your people as much as you love Barack?
So if you were to choose, who do you think would be the ideal black president next time?
For me, I'd vote for Farrakhan.
Is Farrakhan the president of the whole United States?
Why
does
not?
He have?
You said black president. Why not?
Wait, no, I'm just asking. You
Why
think
not?
Farrakhan could be impartial?
Yes.
Really?
You had that cave George Bush up there. What we talking about? Why I don't understand.
Jamal, would you vote for Farrakhan?
Why could not Farrakhan be a good president?
I'm just asking the question.
Voting is private. I don't disclose. Vote for.
I love it. Do that little clap.
I love the minister, and he speaks the truth a lot. And I participated in the Million Man March. Went to Washington. I support him as far as on the politic end. Could he be president? Is he qualified? Yes. Could he weave through the politics to get the votes? No.
Okay.
Oh, Barack couldn't do that. Barack had both houses of his first 2 years. Couldn't bust a grape. So where are we going with this?
Anyway, we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to still have a good time here with Tony Wafer talking about blacks who are not supporting President Obama. And hopefully Shirley Hussar, who is a registered Republican, will come in and speak on behalf of the black Republicans on why they're not supporting President Obama. We'll be right back.
Choice of colors. Which one would you choose, my brothers? If there was no day or night, which would you prefer to be right?
We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
And share with black folks not of kin.
Hi, this is Nick Cordelai Corte inviting you to join me Sundays at 10 a.m. right here on LA Talk Live for our all-new show, People Are Talking. Join us as we offer you a weekly dose of fresh perspectives with in-studio guests hot topics in the world of politics and pop culture, and the voices of everyday people impacted by the political issues coming to a ballot box near you. So don't forget to tune in to People Are Talking exclusively on latalklive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B, watch us on Ustream.tv, or even catch us under the Radio Flags app under ILATK. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Interested in advertising your business, product, or service here on The Dialogue? Call 323-547-7748. The Dialogue will help you promote your business, increase your traffic, and bring in new clients through innovative and creative marketing packages, including affordable radio ad campaigns for small businesses. Find out more. Call 323-547-7748. That's 323-547-7748. Or go to www.thedialoguela.com. And now, back to The Dialogue. The Dialogue with Starlett Quarles. Real talk, real people.
Do you have or know of someone with a child or adult family member with developmental disabilities that would benefit from a social recreation program in the South Los Angeles area? At Ability First's Harry A. Meyer Center at 8090 Crenshaw Boulevard in Inglewood, we offer afternoon and after-school care programs for children and adults with disabilities, which include socialization, recreation, community outings, independent living skill training, as well as physical fitness activities. You can reach us at 323-753-3101 and visit us at www.abilityfirst.org.
Yeah, election time's coming. Who you gonna vote for? Yeah, if I was president, I'd get elected on Friday, assassinated on Saturday.
Well, I'm sorry. Hi, welcome back to the Dialogue. Real Talk, Real People. I'm your host, Starlett Quarles. We're on live at latalklive.com. And today we're talking about blacks who are not supporting or voting for Obama this upcoming November 6th, which we want you to do. And we also want you to join us here at LA Talk Live on November 6th for our all-day election coverage. LA, get out and vote. Thank you, Richard. So make sure you check out our RSVP page at LAVote2012.eventbrite.com. We want to hear from you. Hopefully you'll join us here on November 6th for our all-day election coverage. We're going to interview some candidates and bring you up to speed on that last-minute education on some of these ballots and candidate agendas before you go to the polls. But we are still here joined by Tony. He has not left, although we've tried to kick him out of the studio.
I know y'all do.
I'm just kidding. But we're here with Tony Wayford, and our good friend Kenneth Fleming, who joined us last week, is here in the studio. And hopefully Shirley Huzar, who is our registered female Republican, black female Republican, will come in and defend Stacey Dash and the black Republicans. But before we do that, we're going to go to a couple of excerpts. One, the first one is a video with Tavis Smiley and Cornel West on the show Democracy Now! And this is back in 2011, so this was before Romney was chosen or elected as a Republican candidate. And so we're going to hear from Tavis and Cornel, who are now on a poverty tour, challenging President Obama's support of the working class and the poor. That we're going to hear an excerpt from Steve Harvey on KJLH Morning Show, also in the fall of 2009, and his comments on Tavis Smiley and his tour against President Barack Obama. So let's first listen to Tavis Smiley and Cornel West, followed by Steve Harvey.
A recent Washington Post 6% of African Americans expressed approval of the job President Obama is doing, even as support for him has slipped among other groups. This is from the Washington Post. The view is nuanced, though. Among blacks, approval of the president's economic policies has weakened, with only 54% saying the policies have made it better, compared with 77% in October. Cornel West, you have been both a supporter of... A recent Washington Post ABC News poll found 86% of African Americans expressed approval of the job President Obama is doing, even as support for him has slipped among other groups. This is from the Washington Post. The view is nuanced, though. Among blacks, approval of the president's economic policies has weakened, with only 54% saying the policies have made the economy better, compared with 77% in October. Cornel West, you have been both a supporter of Senator Obama in becoming president and a fierce critic. These polls are shifting, even among his hugest support group. What about what has happened and where you think President Obama is trying to take the country and where you think it needs to go?
Well, I think on the one hand, large numbers of black people rightly want to protect President Obama against the vicious right-wing attacks, the Fox News-like attacks, the lies about him being socialist, Muslim, and so forth. On the other hand, the suffering intensifies. It's very clear that President Obama caves in over and over and over again. He punts on first down. If you're in a foxhole with him, you're in trouble because he wants to compromise, you want to fight. He doesn't have the kind of backbone he ought to have. So black folk find themselves in a dilemma. How do we protect him against the right-wing attacks and at the same time keep him accountable, especially when it comes to poor and working people? Unfortunately, Tim Geithner and his economic team have nothing to do with the legacy of Martin King, have indifference toward poor and working people. He listens to them, hence he's rightly associated much more with the oligarchs than with poor people. We hope he changes his mind. We hope he gets a progressive economic team, even though, as you know, many of us are exploring other kinds of possibilities in the coming election, given his lukewarmness.
What are you exploring exactly? Are you talking about another candidate running for president?
It would be a Bernie Sanders-like figure who was fundamentally committed to the legacy of Martin King and Fannie Lou Hamer and Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel and Dorothy Day, putting poor and working people at the center.
When you say Bernie Sanders type, is Bernie Sanders considering running for president?
Unfortunately, I don't think so. I wish he was. He's my kind of brother. But,
would you
it's someone like that who's got backbone and courage.
Tavis Smiley, would you like to see someone else run, and are you considering it yourself?
that right there is the joke of the day. As Dr. West has a great line about that, Amy. You should have asked him that because he has a great line. He says you'd much sooner find him in the crack house than in the White House. That's his response to that. As you well know, my role on public television and public radio doesn't put me in the realm of endorsing candidates. I have not done that. My role is to talk about accountability, to challenge folk to re-examine the assumptions they hold about the poor, to help them expand their inventory of ideas, to introduce Americans to the poor with these platforms that I have. So I'm not in the endorsing business. I'm in the accountability business, and that's why we're on this poverty tour. But to your question, I don't think the president would be hurt necessarily. The country certainly would not be hurt by a primary challenge. That would refocus him on what really matters. It would refocus him on what's happening to too many people in this country. It would refocus him on a more progressive agenda. But having said that, I think if the race were held today, the president still wins. You can't beat somebody with nobody, and I don't see who the somebody is that can beat the president. So Doc and I have had many debates, and I'm sure we're going to get right back at this debate once we get on the bus again to take off to the next city in just
really surprised, man, to be honest with you, because you know, I was a huge fan of Cornel West.
Oh,
really,
yeah.
I'm really, man.
Brilliant,
really love him.
I'm not surprised at Tavis at all.
Tavis, I see him coming a mile away because Tavis Smiley's anger started when he was having a town hall meeting.
Yeah.
President Obama was supposed to come. He couldn't come because of the campaign trail, and he sent Miss Obama.
Right.
He has held that grudge ever since.
And then Professor West was upset because he wasn't invited to the inauguration, as we understand it. Is that correct?
Hey, man,
to the presidential inauguration?
Hey, Doc, I wasn't there either.
Yeah. But are you upset?
Yeah, for what?
Do you have a poverty bus tour?
Oh, have you ever been invited to the damn inauguration?
Okay.
Did Bush send for you? Clinton send for you? Did Reagan send for you? So what you mad cause President Obama, who don't fill out the guest list, ain't got time to tend to that?
That's
Do
right.
you know how many people wanted to be at the inauguration, man?
Mm-hmm.
So this is about not saying thank you. They're mad at the president for not saying thank you.
Well,
we don't really. It's very petty. That's what it's about.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The disguise is the disguise of it all.
Mm-hmm.
He's not doing for Black America what he should be doing. But let me help everybody to something right here and understand this. And this is in layman terms. You are so wrong when you make that statement. But he is the president of the United States. He is not the president of the hood.
Of Black people.
He is the president of the United States.
Everybody.
But if you look at what he's pushing, no one could benefit greater than our community. Healthcare. Who is lacking in healthcare overwhelmingly than anybody else? Who is that? Who is lacking in education overwhelmingly than anybody else? And who do you know could stand a tax break above anybody else? So all you got to do is fit yourself into the equation and you'll see that he's doing everything he can. But it's not for us. It's for the American people.
Yes.
And the moment we quit saying us, gimme, 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 and just plug yourself into the already existing system, which ain't gonna change just cause you want it to, then we can move on with this thing. The man is doing a great job, so we're taking your call.
Dermont, I see you shaking your head.
Well, I don't look to Steve Harvey or Tavis Smiley to explain politics to me.
Mm-hmm.
They both have some very valid points, and they both have points that are interesting.
Okay.
It is about us. It's about Black America. It's about Black folks.
There's some music. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. That was my transition.
And my question
Sorry,
I'm always questioning, what is the Black agenda? It's
Okay.
for us to go to the White House and to Obama.
Okay, so what did you think about what Tavis said?
I try not to comment too much on Brother Tavis. I think he's lost his damn mind.
Okay, all right. Tony, I know you got something to say.
I think he's 100% incorrect, Steve, to say it's not about us. If it ain't about us, then let's just go for the best guy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's arguing and supporting him because he's Black. I mean, so all of a sudden, you can't take Black on and off like you do a yellow wig at night. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You either is or you ain't. and I guarantee you, after all this heavy lifting that Steve is doing and has done, he gonna expect to be on the list. Mm-hmm. And he's lying if he says he's not expected to be on the list to go to the party.
Okay.
So I think that's ridiculous. I think he's pandering to the administration.
Well, let me get Ken Fleming here in on the conversation, who was our guest last week on Black Republicans. Ken, so what did you think about what Tavis and Steve Harvey and Steve Harvey's rebuttal?
Am I there? You hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. First of all, I had just interesting observations. One of them, did you vote, Mr. Tony? Did you vote for the president the first time?
Yes.
Okay, so in a sense, you're disappointed at all that you thought it was going to be, or that he was going to be.
Well, you missed that part of the conversation.
All right.
So we don't want to have Tony go back there.
Okay.
He didn't have any expectations.
Okay.
So he's disappointed by.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. So I had to ask that. And then when we talk about the Black agenda, are we holding the president? I'm playing devil advocate, by the way. We're holding the president accountable for the Black agenda because he's Black. But did we hold any other president that we gave our vote to for the Black agenda, even if they weren't Black?
Excellent question.
Well, I think we had certain expectations. That's why the Negroes cried when they blew Kennedy's head off, because they had expectations. They didn't think that he was going to stand up and walk like normal people. We know you can't expect a snake not to crawl on his belly or a hyena not to sit on his haunches. So to think that we thought we were going to get a whole bunch is not accurate. But we did expect something. And I think no different than if in fact Lieberman had won and been president, certainly Israel and Jewish people would have expected something predicated on the fact that he was one of them. And I think it's crazy not to. And again, nothing else in politics, people that give money and they vote is reciprocity. You give back to those who support you. And with 90+% of the vote of black vote, he owes something.
Okay, so I got the vote. I don't have a problem with that, but that was my next question about the money. Do you know what percentage of gays gave to him, the percentage of Latinos they gave to him, the percentage of whites they gave to him, in comparison to the percentage of blacks that gave to him?
No, because first of all, we'll never figure out who's gay. Because a lot of people do one thing, saying one thing and doing something else.
Well, they pretty open now.
So yeah,
We'll just say
they ain't open now.
They're openly gay.
No, they ain't openly gay because there's 40+ million black people in this country. You can't name me 2 prominent self-disclosed black homosexuals.
Wait, self-disclosed?
Yeah, self-disclosed. Okay. You say open. Open means that they self-disclose.
Okay.
So you can't name me 2 prominent self-disclosed. So we ain't going nowhere with this argument. If you come back next week after you think about it.
You know what? We can Google them. Google it. So anyway, but you made an interesting perspective. I just want to say in regards to the money. And I believe that the president catered to the folks that gave him the money, that he knows gave him the money. I don't think blacks as a whole gave him the
No, let me stop you right there. Let me give you just a little political. You give money so that the campaign can get votes. The money doesn't get you votes. The votes
come from the individuals.
Come from the individuals that make you win.
Right.
The votes are way more important than money in any calculus of politics.
Okay.
So I was actually with one of the leading fundraisers for Obama last week, and it's no question that white folks, I mean, this is just politics 101 anywhere. White folks give money.
Exactly.
Gays are hell of a fundraisers, especially here in California.
Correct.
Women, black folks on the list of
last.
fundraisers are last, at the bottom. Latinos give a lot. Yep. We don't get, but we give our votes.
Okay.
And in any campaign, they come to the black community to get the votes.
And just like we voted 90+%, and without that vote, he don't win. If we go out, if he fails this time, we damn sure get the blame.
Well, we get the blame regardless.
That's my position.
Now, Tony, let me ask you.
We got the blame for the trees being cut down.
I'm sorry to watch an antique go down the street that ain't nobody in their right mind gonna look at. An old ass plane that can't fly. You
Tony,
cut down a tree.
Let me ask you. You said that President Obama's presidency was the worst thing that ever happened to black people.
I think it's going to be.
Why?
I think at the end of the day, it's going to be the worst thing that has happened to us. Because I think what happens is that it silenced the best of us. Because too often when we forget that he's not above criticism and critique. And I'm not talking about character assassination. We shouldn't be talking about his mom and his ears and his kids. That has nothing to do with anything. But he's not above criticism.
Okay.
You think about it. We criticize everybody. When King died, the day King was assassinated, do you realize his popularity was amongst black people was lower than George Bush's when he left office? That's historical fact. We criticize Malcolm. You criticize your mama. Jesus. So why is this brother above critique and criticism? And we're not attacking him personally. We're attacking the administration and those that are around him. I got a problem with you you campaign on change, then you bring in all old white people was with
Bush.
The Clinton and Bush administration.
Exact same people.
That's crazy. That makes absolutely no sense.
Dermot.
Well, I'm
not speechless. Are you speechless?
I'm not speechless. But in politics, there's 2 terms a president can have: one 4-year term and a second 4-year term, whatever that is. That's unlike any other leadership position. That's unlike what the black community we've been going through for hundreds of years. He has to get to that second term. He's going to be way more powerful in that second term. So that's why I give him the benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
He's got to do what he has to do politically to get to that second term. At the second term, all bets are off.
Okay.
Or he can be a lame duck the second term too.
I mean, think about this. But how you address this though? The first 2 years, a man controlled both houses. He spent 2 years crossing the aisle, putting on chapstick, trying to kiss as much ass on the other side as he possibly could without getting his lips chapped. Come on, I mean, at some point we got to be honest.
Well, I don't
he's a
necessarily
politician.
agree
He's a
with
politician.
that analysis.
He's a
I
politician.
understand that.
You got to accept the fact that he is a politician. That's what politicians
But at
do.
the same time, and I'm
Yeah,
a Democrat, and at the same time, his problem was the Democrats. That's why he couldn't get anything done. Because the Democrats were player hating him like I don't know what, and he couldn't keep his own group.
Yeah,
Well, it would have helped to meet with him and talk to your people. I mean, he also. Come at some point we got.
Well, I don't pretend to play on that level of presidential politics, but
Okay.
I don't know what the insides and outsides of what's going on. But at the same time, when he was nominated and when he won the election, the Democrats were split. Half of them were still for Hillary. So, and they blocked and did everything they could. They were worse on him than the Republicans.
But when you argued over the mount, that was the time then to go talk to your people and try to get them on board.
Let me ask you.
Well, we were already on board. We
No,
were on
the
board.
ones that weren't. I'm speaking of.
Okay.
The ones that he had to try to play with.
Let me ask you. So, what should blacks be voting for this election season? What in terms of our personal
Should
agenda?
they be voting for Romney?
Of course not. I wouldn't vote for that mad, wild white
Oh,
boy for nothing in the world.
So you're not voting for Obama. You're not voting for
Hell
Romney
no.
either.
Don't nobody be with.
It'd be safe to say Richard Pryor, none of the above. Right?
I would write in Farrakhan's name or my name or my mama. You know what I mean? And see, people can. It ain't like it's it's kind of like what Farrakhan said. You can say you get to choose between the devil or Satan. You going to hell with that choice you make. And I'm not naive enough to believe. Again, I know. And again, second 4 years, you hoping like you was the first.
Hope.
You hope.
Hope and change.
Yeah, and but what did Malcolm say? Of all our studies, history is most prepared to reward all research.
I mean,
look at his history.
Shirley was supposed to help us and better understand if the black Republicans have a black agenda. Do the black Republicans have a black agenda?
Yeah, I'm Republican.
Really?
Registered.
Really?
I'm on the countdown right after this. I got a beard.
Really? I'm really.
Great.
You probably double agent.
Hey, double
You probably double. You fooling white folk. That's what you do.
Absolutely.
You did this
I'm doing a great
contract.
Absolutely, all the time. If you replay the tape, it's strictly for business. Obviously.
I'm clear.
Yeah,
I'm clear.
I'm
clear.
I don't want to be on the
Most
sidelines.
Republicans like Larry and them, they don't believe that shit.
Yeah.
I know they don't believe that shit. They just find an opening and get on in there.
Have you had this much cussing on your show before?
Forgive me, y'all.
Are there any FCC guidelines?
Wait a second, for our listeners that
Pray for me. God is not through with me yet.
We're gonna lay hands on you after this.
Well, I don't know if I could pray for it. And my prayers go for something else.
Yeah, well, tell us. Do the black Republicans have a black agenda?
Well, like we talked about last week about the black agenda, most black Republicans that I know don't represent black Republicans nationwide. And so for me, it's not about the conservative movement or the Tea Party or smaller government and all the rest of the stuff that they talk about. For us, it is strictly business. It's what policies are going to be in order so that we can keep running our company, keep running our businesses, and bring home as much money as we can without leaving it at the federal government's door.
Now, Tony, what prevented you from the Republican Party?
Because I won't lick a dirty doorknob for $1.
What do you mean? Where are you getting these country sayings from? What
I'm from the country.
I'm from the country.
Detroit is not the country. It may be in the future, but Tony, you're from Detroit. That ain't the country.
I couldn't join it because, again, like I said earlier, I think they're just too wild on some areas, and I couldn't. One, I think the majority of them, I think, is such a racist group of wild white people, and the Negroes basically that I know and known that belong to are either hustling, which I ain't got no problem with hustling. People pimping every day. Somebody turn a trick as we speak. So
on both sides, by the way.
Are there any FCC regulations started that we need?
Trick ain't a bad word.
Trick ain't a bad word.
No, but I'm just trying to stop it from going there. Don't be giving out no numbers, Tony.
And I just personally, I just couldn't. I mean, they're just too wild.
Okay.
I mean, it's just too wild. But I understand what brother said. Because it's clear to me he hustling.
Yeah.
He making some money.
Well, no, let me tell you.
And he got to go on. And I assure you, first thing when you leave one of the Republican conventions, you get to the shower and get that stuff off.
Absolutely.
burn your suit. You know what I mean? And I'm with you, player.
And I don't wear the good one.
And
either.
I'm with you. I just couldn't do it. You know what I mean? But I think we need people in there because
Absolutely.
the brothers seemingly got a sense of social consciousness.
Absolutely.
Without him in the room, when them white people get to talking, wow.
Yeah.
If he ain't in the room, he can say, "Hey, yo,
hold on."
Now let me ask you both.
Absolutely.
Let me ask.
Absolutely.
Now let's
because I'm gonna turn the table on.
No.
Mess it all
Wait,
up.
okay, go
But you're
again.
absolutely correct, and that's the vote that you have at the table. That's the position that you have at the table. And so for a lot of people with the president, that's what he does. He brings black representation to the table. Where people are saying that they're upset at the president, especially most blacks, is that they believe that he left the black part of him outside, didn't bring that part to the table. Would you agree, or?
Well, I don't think he had a black part to bring.
Well, so you don't think his daddy was black?
Well, like I said, but you weren't here. But I said black is three things: color, consciousness, and commitment.
Okay, so commitment.
So
he's connected, but he ain't committed.
So you don't get it. I think he's forever looking for his grandmama and his mom and all the white people that he suck up to. That's my position.
Yeah.
So let me ask you both, since you guys are both not Democrats, do you think that the black America should consider switching parties to either Republican or Democrat?
Well,
I mean, or independent?
Well, I think they need to make the choice for themselves based on what they're trying to get accomplished for their family, for themselves and family. I don't think it should be automatic Democrat, and I don't think it should automatic be a Republican if you own a business or you own a company. I don't think it should be. I don't think anything should be automatic. Like I said, I'm a moderate Republican, so I couldn't tell my ex-wife what to do, so I know I can't tell a woman what to do with her body, and I'm not going to try. And I don't plan on having any abortions myself personally.
Okay.
So that is just what it is. So when you look at it from that perspective, you need to make the decision yourself.
Okay, and I'm sorry. I meant Tony.
I agree with brother. I think that you should. I think you should just be in the middle and independent and just go with whatever makes sense at the time, because I think it's ridiculous to think, these white people be singing "America the Beautiful" in the daytime and whistling Dixie at dark. So I think we just need to be cognizant of that.
What you mean they trying to look for a brother to kill? That's
Ain't no question.
Want to make sure.
Ain't no question. That's their history. It's bad, brother.
But Ken, I mean, are you voting for Romney? Are you voting?
You know what? The unfortunate part is this, and I almost feel powerless because I'm in California. California's going to go to the president regardless of what decision I make. So I'm still undecided.
So what is going to be your deciding factor?
Probably after the third or the fourth debate.
Now, what did you guys think of the first one last week?
He looked just like what it was. He didn't want to be there. He couldn't understand how somebody was talking to him. He's been in a bubble for the last 4 years, and so because of that, it showed.
Do you think there's any validity to the fact that he couldn't show any aggression because of the stereotype of black men?
You know what? That is a true statement. I don't care what anybody said. There are times when I'm in the room with folk, I can't say and do what I want to do. So what I tend to do is just speak Ebonics, and then after a while, everyone else starts speaking Ebonics also. So you can't go crazy. He just can't. The minute he go crazy, that's the first thing they'll say. See, that's a black man. That's why we don't deal with him.
All right, DeMont, what did you think about the debates?
I give President Obama the benefit of the doubt. I think whatever strategy David Axelrod and Mr. Plouffe had, I don't know what it was, but I think they had a strategy, and we just have to see how it plays out.
Okay. Tony.
I think that Pope brother, that's who he was. Like that's why I wasn't joking when I said he talking, because he used to talk hard to black people. He ain't used to talk hard to white people. Because if he had any soul and backbone about him, when that cave dweller called him alive when he was giving that speech, he'd have said, "Your mama, get this punk up out of here." Out of just reflex, because it's just certain black, like you say, it's certain black reflex. I'm talking, you used to call me alive, I'm gonna say "F you." We gonna move furniture. You know what I mean? So sometimes you don't get to think, just come out.
But the only issue behind that is that he didn't do it in the beginning. So for him to do it now,
that's why I say if you know the beginning well.
So do you think he'll do it now? You think he'll be a little bit more aggressive?
That's what folk are saying.
Okay.
But again, I'd rather much vote for a president who caters to the masses than cater to a president who then wrote off 47%, because we don't know what percentage the president has wrote off.
All right.
I mean, we say we think it's all blacks, but he ain't wrote off all blacks.
All right, very good. Thank you all so much. Tony, you've been a hoot. Thank you so much for joining us.
Now, why are you talking country?
Because it just it's like my osmosis. DeMont, I adore you. Thank you so much for joining us
Thank you
the
so
past
much.
couple of weeks. Ken Fleming, Thank you for coming back and stepping in for Shirley Hussar, who I'm sure will probably join us later on this month. I'm your host, Starlett Quarles. Thank you so much for joining to this episode of The Dialogue. Make sure you tune in next week when we continue our conversation on politics. I'm signing off as my mama's child and my daddy's baby girl. Until next week.
Choice of colors, which one would you choose, my brothers? If there was no day or night, which would you prefer to be right? How long have you hated your white teacher, who told you you love your black preacher? Do you respect your brother's woman friend and share with black folks not of kin? People must prove to the people a better day is coming for you and for me, with just a little bit more education and love for our nation would make a better society. Now some of us would rather cuss and make a fuss than to bring about a little trust. But we shall overcome, I believe, someday, if you'll only listen to what I have to say. And how long have you held your white teacher, who told you you love your black preacher? Can you respect your brother's woman friend and share with black folks not of kin? I say now people must prove to the people a better day is coming for you and for me, with just a little bit more education and love for our nation would make a better society. And if you had a choice of colors, which one would you choose, my brothers? If there was no day or night, which would you prefer to be right? And if you had a choice of colors, which one would you choose, my brothers? If there was no day or night, which would you